I almost gave up completely on my entire business. And I don't tell too many people this story. However, when the light bulb went off, I was at a Tony Robbins event, my very first Tony Robbins event, 10 years ago, 2009, in Chicago. And what was so mind-blowing to me again was that I felt like I had discovered via him, and just the world of personal development, like how to life hack your way to happiness and fulfillment. And I was like, man, if I could learn, part of this was driven for me to get into coaching and just by my earnest desire to get out of pain. Then there was another part of that was driven by significance, my insecurities, my desire to be of worth, and having had recently shortly thereafter, lost my mom, had gone through a divorce, things like that. So much of my worth growing up, I based it off of, the way that women reacted to me. I just grew up knowing kind of what buttons to push with my mom to make her happy, and then with school teachers and girlfriends and things like that. And yet I was insecure, and my value was derived a lot by being a yes man and a people pleaser and a nice guy. And so my thought was like, man, if I could figure this out and learn to kind of heal or just even to master that area of figuring out what women want, it'd be great. So that started me on the path of coaching. And I didn't really acknowledge it a whole lot. I would often tell people part of my story, which was when I started my gyms and stuff like that in St. Louis, that I was being driven by wanting to honor my mom. And that was certainly true. I wanted to see how I could allow her life to be an inspiration, and be able to support other women similar to her. But then underneath that, I was really seeking how to be ultimately a better partner in the ways that I failed in the past. And over the years, the interesting thing is, as I worked with countless women over the last decade, with helping them with their physical health, their mental health, their emotional, relational, spiritual health, women all across the world, thousands of them at this point, I found myself losing motivation. And I can see it now in retrospect, but over the last several years, after my online business took off and I moved out of St. Louis and moved here to Colorado, and then ultimately a year later selling off my gyms, just turning into a virtual coach, my motivation to work with the clientele that I had been working with, coming from the place that I was 10 years ago, things were shifting inside me. And so at the end of 2017, I thought, I can no longer keep doing this. I cannot have another year, 2018, where I'm ending the year just where I've been. My income had plateaued in many different ways. I wasn't feeling like I was being fulfilled or enriched or really growing. I wasn't putting my all into coaching and working with my clients, and they were losing, I was losing, not in a good way, right? And so at that point, I kind of threw up my arms and I was like, something needs to change. And I joined a mastermind last year, and I was willing to give it all up. I really was. I was willing to go back and get a corporate job. I was willing to just say whatever needs to happen. And through that journey of meeting some amazing people, doing a lot of prayer and seeking, I realized that my need for significance, my need for self-worth was all starting to come from a higher place, coming from inside versus from outside. And when that happened, that shift has been happening over the years of doing personal development, reading books, having, countless coaches, but really focusing a lot on introspective work. that that need to find my self-worth from outside of me was very quickly diminishing. And that's why I lost my motivation that was originally driving me when I was working with women all across the world at the beginning of 2010 and for those 6-7 years. And so just ironically, I was willing to give up coaching altogether, even though I loved it and all that stuff. But you know what? At the end of the day, I found myself being driven more by what was pulling me, what was compelling me to contribute, and that calling out to work with men and assisting other men in the same way that I've been kind of assisting myself in my own journey of figuring out what that means to be a man and to be a partner and to be a just an honorable man of integrity. Drove me, or kind of I should say pulled me into the work that I'm doing now, where I was really willing to give it all up. And so I say this because kind of the moral of the story is that we can be driven by two different things, either by our pain or by our purpose. And for many, many years, I was being driven by my pain. And through that, I would never have really found true fulfillment, happiness, because it was never going to be enough. I was always looking for something outside of myself. When I started to really find my own sense of self-worth and happiness and confidence in just being who I know myself to be, man, where the place of drive now comes from deep inside my heart is a completely different motivation. And not to say that there aren't challenges, because anyone who might be watching this that knows me well and we chat often, you know that I go up and down and have my cycles of good days and bad days, of where I feel like I'm making a difference and all the days where I feel like I'm not doing anything for the world. So ask yourself, what are you driven by? Are you driven by your pain, or are you driven by your purpose? If you're driven by your need for significance, your need for certainty, security, man, I hate to break it to you, but you're never going to find true fulfillment and happiness in that. You have to find yourself being compelled and pulled towards something in your life that allows you to contribute to something greater than yourself, even if it's for your, providing for your family, your children, for your community work, whatever it might be, and that you're growing. You need to be contributing to something greater than yourself, and you need to be constantly growing. Otherwise, that lack of progress is going to be what robs you of your soul. So a little bit longer of a video tonight, but I hope that resonates, and I would love to hear your comments if you want to make any, or shoot me a DM, because I think this is a hugely important thing for you to really start asking yourself and looking truthfully in the mirror about what is driving you. And for me, I could have very well intellectually told you what was going on, but something needed to shift in my heart, and that's just a process that takes time. And so I hope this lands in your heart in a good way, and would love to hear what it means to you, and we'll catch up soon. Later.